Quest to Succeed. Chapter 23. Jay had been interested to go abroad for a long time. He thought of it when he was 14 years old and was studying at the secondary school. One day his class colleague and friend Shafiq took him to his house, where his father asked Jay what was he going to do after completing his education. At the tender age of 14, he had not considered or decided his future. As a villager, he did not think of his distant future. Then he, the friend's father, said that Shafiq would go to the United States to study law and would settle down there, because in India there would be less opportunities for Muslims. Jay did not conjecture all that, but it created a curiosity in his mind that it would be good to study in an advanced country. When the real time arrived for Jay to go to the United Kingdom, he felt that it was unpremeditated. He borrowed 2,000 rupees for his air ticket and flew to London in the autumn, leaving his gentle wife and innocent children on their own to face their problems, as he was to struggle and solve his enigma in a strange land. His children were noticeably young. They did not know what was happening around them. His wife suggested that they should all go together, but Jay could not borrow more money. He had given his 4 years' savings to his parents and to his brother Nakul. He thought that he paid all his savings to others when he himself could not borrow 15 rupees for his high school examination fee only a few years earlier. Who would lend him 5,000 rupees for his family to fly out to the United Kingdom? On reaching London, however, he was to stay with Naresh. Nakul had discussed for this arrangement. Jay had read one of Naresh's letters to Nakul. He reached the conclusion that Naresh was not his type of a person because he had unusual ways of thinking. He expressed his views to Nitin. Initially, however, he was prepared to stay with Naresh in London. When he left for England, Jay's family remained at the same flat in Delhi where they were living with him. His brother Gautam did not like the idea of them living on their own when they had an extended family. They were therefore moved to Nakul's place, which was nearby. Reena, however, had no desire to stay there. This was an erroneous decision and inequitable action. If Gautam took them to his house, people would have understood it, but to leave Jay's family at Nakul's place, where they did not want to live, could not be accepted. Reena did not speak to Gautam because he was Jay's elder brother. She observed a purdah, veil. She did not oppose Gautam and left the flat with him. The children were too young and had not yet started to speak. After 10 days of staying at Nakul's house, Reena and children went to live with her parents in the village, where he had a big house and Reena herself grew up there. In London, Naresh came to receive Jay at the Heathrow airport. He said that he was delighted to see him as a friend's brother. "I would treat you as my own younger brother here. I must tell you that there was not many Hindi-speaking people in London. I am pleased to see you," he continued, that most of the Indians who live in the United Kingdom were either Punjabi-speaking or Gujarati-speaking. Many Punjabi soldiers were in the British Indian Army during the imperialist rule. They fought for Britain during the Second World War. They were encouraged to emigrate to Britain. A few old British soldiers went to Punjab to recruit them. He stressed that there was a shortage of factory workers at that time. The British soldiers knew that Indians were faithful and extremely hard-working. Naresh showed his knowledge and stressed that the Gujarati Indians came from East Africa, where they were shopkeepers, businessmen, and government employees working for the colonial administration there. They were given British passports and British citizenship in order to ensure the supply of labor for Britain. It was the British government policy. However, when the British passport holder Indians came to Britain, the British people resented them. Still, the Indians from East Africa were allowed to settle in different cities in Britain. They used their experience and expertise to adjust in the new country. They opened retail shops in England. At one stage, they owned 60% of retail trade in the United Kingdom and also became small post office owners. They worked hard and long hours. The entire family helped at the shop, which opened from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. Naresh asked Jay to stay with him as he had free accommodation himself. He, nevertheless, told him that no one helped anybody in London. He would have to find his own way, including a job. Jay knew nothing about the British way of life or the British system. Naresh said to him that he should look for a job in a factory. He maintained that, although you have been a visa as a teacher, no one would like you to teach their children in Britain. Your qualifications have helped you to obtain a work visa, but the British want you to work in a factory. Jay could not make out why was he talking like that on his first day in London. In his letters to Nakul, he had expressed the view that he was happy and earning a lot of money. He had an excellent job, and so on. Next morning on Saturday, Naresh introduced him to a couple of his friends who came to visit him. He asked them to convince Jay that he would not get a teaching job in England. He had been given a visa to work in a factory. One of his friends tried to suggest to Naresh that Jay looked smart and he would get a job in an office, if not as a teacher, straight away. Naresh was not ready to accept that and insisted on his views. Jay set out in search of a job on Monday morning. After 3 inquiries, he was offered a job and was asked by the manager of the company to get a national insurance card from the government office. He gave him the office address, where Jay went with his passport and work visa. He was given the national insurance card without delay. Jay started to earn his living the next day or within 4 days, including the weekend of his landing in London. On the second Saturday of Jay's life in London, Naresh took him to the market to do shopping. Jay wanted to pay for bread and other essentials. He had £3 in his pocket, which he brought from India. Naresh nonetheless insisted that he should pay for television rental, which was 30 shillings, £1.50, and said that you should watch television programs and news. Jay paid the money for Naresh's television rent. He, however, moved out of his house within the next few days and did not watch any programs on his television at his house. Jay could not see Nitin before leaving Delhi to fly out to London. He, therefore, wrote a letter to him and explained the situation and how he decided to emigrate to Britain. After reading Bose's letter to Nehru at his degree college, he wanted to write a long letter to Nitin. From London he wrote, "It is long since I promised to narrate my experiences and observations in detail. There had, however, been very few occasions in my life which have left a permanent impact on my mind. Certainly, my coming to England brought changes in my living. The roots of this go back to January of the previous year, when I was fast asleep at my flat in Somanpur, Rajasthan. I heard a knock at the door at 4 a.m. This woke me up. I opened the door and was astonished to see my younger brother Vikram standing there with a colleague of mine. While I was pleased with his presence, I was also surprised to see him there at that hour. This was unexpected, and I had not been informed about his plan to visit us. We all went to sleep but started to talk in the morning. During our conversation, it emerged that an acquaintance in New Delhi was going to England in April. He had been granted a work visa by the British government. I became curious and thought that if I had an opportunity, I would like to go abroad one day. Nitin did not reply promptly. Jay did not receive any letter from India for quite a few days. He was trying to adapt in London. He did not know the date when his wife and children went to live with Reena's parents. Naresh heard of the situation. He did not like it. He said to Jay that you should know the whereabouts and welfare of your family. Your brother should have informed you when they left Delhi. Naresh himself wrote to Nakul, who was his friend, that he, Nakul, was mature enough and clever enough to write that Jay's family had gone to stay with their maternal grandparents. Nonetheless, Reena and the children went to her father's village to attend a family wedding. It was customary in India that family members, even married, used to stay in the family house. They could arrive earlier than needed and would stay much longer, even when the wedding ceremony was over. It was not out of the ordinary. Naresh, however, wanted to interfere in Jay's family affairs and showed that he was a caring and a family man himself. Nakul did not like anyone questioning him. He did not reply to Naresh's letter. He wrote to Jay that he had prompted Naresh to write to him. If he was so concerned and worried about his children, why did he go to London? Jay could not comprehend why Nakul was so upset on a simple questioning by his own friend. He himself had encouraged him to emigrate to Britain. He did not want to get involved in any argument and let the matter slip. He did not care about his brother's views and behavior. This became his nature, not to spend time on other people's thoughts and reactions. Moreover, Naresh wanted his friend Nakul to migrate to Britain, but it was Jay who took a chance to relocate himself to a new country. Naresh was surprised that Jay had received a visa because he did not expect him to apply. What to say of receiving it? He said to Jay that he was simply teasing you and thought that you were a lazy man and would not try to immigrate to Britain, where Indians had to work hard and they were discriminated because of the British Empire in India. Some British people carried the imperialist tag and looked down upon Indians. After moving out of Naresh's place to another part of London, Jay continued to visit him. One day, they both were sitting near a fireplace in the front room of his house. He, Naresh, revealed that when you arrived in London and stayed with him, you were in deep sleep after days' hard work. I wanted to suffocate you with a pillow and throw you into a furnace to which he had access. Naresh's workplace used coal for central heating, which was done through a furnace. He could easily have disposed of Jay's body. He, however, realized that Jay had already informed his family in India that he had reached London safely and was received at the Heathrow airport by Naresh. He further told Jay that if there was an inquiry from your family, they would have questioned him about you, especially when they would not receive any letters from you. Jay could not believe what he had just heard. Only a few days earlier, on his arrival at the Heathrow airport, Naresh told him that he was glad to see him as a Hindi-speaking person who were scarce in London. While Jay feared Naresh, that he could lose his sense at any time, he calmly said, "You are not criminal-minded, so you could not have committed a murder." He ignored the entire conversation. He was, however, careful in the future. Jay did not ask Naresh for any explanation. Why did he think so, and why did he want to murder me? I have a young family to look after and had just moved to live in a new country. On his urging and persistence, Jay forgot the entire episode. It was not until about 25 years later that he recalled the incident and told a dear friend Puneet, who was a senior lecturer in law at the university where they both taught. They were having tea in the canteen, sitting near a window. Jay disclosed of the murder plot by Naresh. Puneet said, why did he want to do that? He would like to talk to this man Naresh and ask him why did he think of killing Jay. It was not possible for Puneet to ask anything of Naresh because he had moved out of London. When he became bored of eating bread and potatoes, Jay bought a hot plate tawa to make chapatis and other utensils needed. Naresh discovered of Jay's purchases and questioned him. Why did you spend money on such things? He did not realize that Jay spent his own money on the items he needed to make food. In the new year, Jay started an external degree course of the University of London. After a couple of months, he registered at the University Senate House and paid a registration fee. He was already attending evening classes at a local college. For examination, however, the students were required to register at the Senate House. Otherwise, they would not be able to take their examinations. Naresh did not like that either. He wanted Jay to attend college only to tell his relatives in India that he was studying. He should not take any examination or obtain a qualification. He should not spend money on registration or on books. He asked Jay to borrow books of the library. There was no need to purchase books. Libraries were incredibly good in London. Every borough had many libraries in their boundaries. The money that Jay earned should be given to him when Naresh had no role in his life. He simply stayed with him for a few days on his arrival in London. He paid for his television rental. Naresh wanted to control him, his activities, and his life. He wanted to dominate Jay by remaining in close touch, long distance, or remotely. Once Naresh's wife told Jay that they know all about him. He watched Germany versus England soccer game at a neighbor's place. Jay did not have a television in those days. Naresh used to find fault and criticize every decision of Jay's, even regarding his job, writing letters to friends and family. Why did you write so quickly? Why did you call him brother when he was not related to you? He wanted to become Jay's elder brother, consultant and advisor. Sometimes he called him immature, unable to take right decisions at the right time. On the contrary, Jay found Naresh playing big brother, psycho, brute, bossy and bully. Yet Naresh continued to ask Jay for money. Whenever they went out on a bus or by train, Jay paid his fare, but he also expected him to pay bus fare for his friends if they were accompanying them. Jay did not like that. He refused to comply. Naresh once said, "You should learn something." What was that something? He did not explain but expected Jay to spend money on him and his friends. Once Jay inquired of Naresh whether he would help him financially in his need at some stage. He refused and said that he did not have any cash available in his bank or at home. Yet, a few months later, he again asked Jay to lend him a lot of money. Jay discussed about such money asking with his colleagues and friends at his office, who warned him that there were people who exploited innocent men for their advantages but would not help in others' requirement. An experienced man, Param Sai, told him to be careful and not to lend your money to anyone. He said, "You would not be able to do anything and possibly lose time and money and might be put under an emotional pressure." Jay decided not to lend any more money in the future to Naresh, who, however, could not comprehend that he should not ask for finance. We all earn to pay our bills and meet our family expenditure or save for unforeseen circumstances. Whenever Jay visited Naresh, he continued to ask for funds and often said that your family would not be able to join you without a house. You cannot buy a house. You should therefore lend me all your savings. I would buy a house where you could live in a room on nominal rent. Naresh's demand for cash looked like a stuck gramophone sound which repeated the same tune. Whenever Jay met him, he spoke the same words in the same tone and same stature. Naresh's wife did really suggest that rather than asking Jay to lend him his savings, he should help him so that his family could join him from India. Naresh shouted at his wife and scolded her. What would we gain by helping him? He is a fool and would give us money as he has done in the past. Naresh continued to tell his wife that we would have properties in this country without investing our resources. Jay did really lend Naresh money 3 times during his first 8 months since arriving in London. Jay did not like being asked for money on every stopover. He discontinued to visit Naresh. He really moved to live in another part of London, but near an underground station, so he could travel to his office by tube. Naresh constantly phoned him. Whenever Jay picked up the phone, Naresh's first words would be, "Are you still alive?" This annoyed him. What was he trying to do? Why did he behave like that? He could not work out, except that he was not a normal social being. Despite Jay's non-interest in Naresh, he arrived at Jay's place on a Saturday morning and asked him to accompany him to see one of his friends, whom Jay also knew. He said to him that, "You have also been invited for lunch by this friend." Jay had commitment on that day. Still, he followed him to his friend's house. Naresh's friend did not give an impression that Jay had been invited by them for lunch. Although this friend of Naresh's smiled, which was not very welcoming, he could not grasp why did Naresh lie to him. They had simple vegetarian Indian lunch. After lunch, everyone sat down. Naresh asked Jay to give all his savings to his friend on his guarantee. Jay replied, "Wow, that was an expensive lunch. To give all the savings for 2 chapatis." Naresh's friend said, "You do not have to pay anything." He was thinking of a payment for a friendly lunch at his house. Jay replied that he was not going to do anything like that anyway. He nonetheless understood what Naresh was up to, but his friend could not comprehend Naresh's thinking. Jay was not surprised, but felt that this man would never apprehend a basic refusal. He had very feeble IQ, intelligence quotient. Naresh still tried to argue that it was in Jay's interest to lend money to his friend. When Jay realized Naresh's bad manners, he retorted to him, "What is your guarantee? You do not have a property. You live in a council house. You cannot put that house as a guarantee. You do not have any fixed deposit account at a bank, otherwise you would not have asked me for money. Naresh's vanity was scorched when Jay refused to lend finances to his friend and questioned him about his vulnerability to stand as a guarantor. Jay believed that the simple words of an ordinary employee with an earning of £17 a week were not sufficient for a £400 loan in the 1960s. Naresh thought that he had a persuasive power and would be able to convince Jay that it was for his good that he should give all his savings to his friend. Furthermore, he also believed that Jay would not refuse to lend money in the presence of a friend and his wife. There were only 4 people in that room at that time. With Naresh's vanity hurt, he decided to break all connections with Jay and maintained that if he could not be of help to him and to his friends for funds, he, Jay, was of no use to him. He was therefore not worthy of a friendship. His friendship was based on selfish interests for financial position. Jay questioned him about his earning situation as he wanted to become a surety for his friend. Jay had other priorities. He bluntly refused to give his money to anyone. He conceived the idea that if his family could not come to the United Kingdom, he would return to India. However, if his family joined him in London, he would use his savings to finance a deposit in order to purchase a house or a flat. His own family's welfare was paramount to him.